I can't see your part of the StreamYard,
All right,
but
we got it. We're live. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Authentic Alphas. It's your boy Allende, and you are tuned in for the first episode of Wisdom Wednesdays. So, I was just thinking, what is some more ways that I could add value to the male community, help out young guys, give some good information, some good tips, some great advice. And I thought, wow, it would be a really good idea bringing on older gentlemen to share some of the things that they've learned in their life and, give some of that wisdom to the younger generation, right? So you got smart people and you got wise people, right? So today I was fortunate enough to get a good friend of mine who had some time. He's willing to come on and share some information and some tips with you guys. So we're gonna get into that here in a second. Let me just make sure everything is good over here on YouTube. All right. Okay. So without further ado, I'm gonna bring on my boy. I admire this guy. I think he gives great advice. He has a very mature perspective, and it's something that we don't have enough of in the manosphere. To be honest with you, we don't have enough OGs. We don't have enough, older guys that might be half a century old or damn near there, getting there, been around for a while, seen a lot of things, that are willing to share and exchange with the younger generation. So I'm gonna bring my guy in right now. What's up, brother?
how are you doing? How are you doing? I am well.
I'm good, brother. I'm good. So this is my man Grover, half of the Tip Network in the house. I want you to go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us a little something about yourself.
Well, as you said, I'm Grover from the Tip Network. One half of the Tip Network. We're a visual storytelling podcast. We live stream occasionally, but our bread and butter has been produce videos. Where we talk about helping folks level up through self-improvement, but of course we have a lot of sarcasm in it. Originally from all around, but made my home in the Bay Area. Grew up in the late 80s, early 90s, seen some things, but actually what I thought I would share with your audience is ways to make folks, ways to help folks level up without going the traditional college route. I think that a lot of folks, we look at it right now, especially with the price of a university, just the price of courses. Even if you don't take a university, but you take courses such as college courses or extension courses, it could be financially daunting. And I just want to talk about different ways and really understand what a university is actually for, because I've been to university before, which I'm sure a lot of your fan base, a lot of your folks who listen to you and your subs have, but also the understanding that I came to, that I don't use any of my university knowledge in my day to day, and what I actually learned from the university. So if you guys bear with me, I got a little script here. I can go right into some of the things. We can go back and forth, ask each other questions. You chime in whenever you want.
Okay.
And just any questions you have of me, any questions your folks have of me while I'm here, my time is going to be at their disposal. Give some background to what I'm doing now, though, because you have a guy come up here, and the only credibility I have right now is I'm just older than everyone else. So it's like, what is it? I can give business-wise background. I've had a very colorful life in business. I started off as like the worst level of toilet washer at a retail store. I mean, literally, I washed toilets, I cleaned grease traps, I did anything for a paycheck at the time. I've been to that desperate situation. Years later, I wound up being a store manager at that store. Then through networking, left the company and became a district manager at another company, left that company and became a Northern California territory manager of the largest hospice company in the United States. Then did that all the way through COVID. I mean, I'm just an abbreviated version, of course. Then I left, and I'm working on new verticals for the nation's largest tech delivery service, food delivery service. So I'm working on their new verticals, which I'm building a crew, train a crew, and go to another site, build a crew, train a crew, and just running multiple sites, helping out multiple sites, and really my passion is sharing knowledge and taking some of this old school knowledge and paying it forward to the younger generation. And I'm actually wrote a training program for them so folks can actually get promoted internally because it's, I don't believe that any job should be a dead end job. Every job should be a career opportunity to network and to learn, and so you can take it further. So that's kind of where I am right now in Northern California, San Francisco Bay Area, and Silicon Valley.
Okay, no, definitely, man. I mean,
Yeah.
that's one of the things that I get a lot of value out of talking to you and dealing with you is your business savvy and your business experience. So I always kind of run things by you, and you always have a perspective that I didn't have. You're always like covering a corner or an angle that I would have never
Well,
even thought of.
OGs are like your grandparents. We just want respect. We just want to have something to give to the younger folks, and because it's also part of our legacy. So, I always tell people, just because I got extended warranty on mine, don't mean that I don't actually know what's going on new. So, like we want to give back. We want the younger folks to be successful. Let me tell you something. I want everybody in my vicinity to win. I want you folks to win because the more folks around me are winning, the less I have to worry about jealousy and backstabbing, because nothing's worse than if you're the big dog in a pack and everybody else is not doing well or they depend on you, then that's sooner or later they're gonna if they depend on you, then they have a right to blame you for when they're not doing well because they depend on you to do well. And I know it doesn't sound like it should be like that, but that's just how it works.
Oh, that's human nature. We have a saying in Jamaica: if you don't feed the pups them, they're gonna nom your food. That means if you don't feed your dogs, they're gonna eat your food.
100%. So what I say, so folks around me, especially in this creator economy that we have here on YouTube, I want to share because there's only one thing. Like I kind of like being a '90s rap head, like Dame Dash. The flyest thing is not one millionaire and a bunch of hang-ons, but a whole group of millionaires. That's fly. And
yeah, that is fly. That's definitely fly.
That's how I look at it. So I got a few notes prepared for your folks. I see some folks in the chat.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Give everybody respect who showed up. I'm not going to be super long-winded because I want to give information, potent information, and work out. But I'm just going to tell.
Okay.
I'm going to start off with just like not everybody gets to go to a high-powered college or university. I mean, we have to be very realistic. Not everybody is born with with rich parents. Not everyone's going to get a 4.3 GPA. People say, how can you get a 4.3? It means you have honors classes the whole time and have this off the meter SAT score. Even if you do well in school, where you may where you want to go, you may not get into. I mean, you have to understand that, like, Stanford takes 3% of the people who apply. Harvard takes less than that.
Damn.
And so these Ivy League schools, they're not taking a lot of folks. But we get caught up and we don't understand the purpose of a university. Now, everybody in the chat, your folks who are here, there's 15 people here rocking with y'all. Thank you. But let me tell you something. Don't forget the purpose of a university. And the purpose of the higher education is absolutely not because you get a diploma. That diploma is almost secondary or tertiary. It's the networking that you do there. And so if you are not going to go to a university, you have to figure out how to create a network of people that you can depend on. And so that's the biggest thing. Now, certain degrees. I don't know what that was, but I hope everyone's okay.
Yo, no, what happened was my chair just broke because I'm like overweight. So no, real shit. That's not the first time that I just broke a chair. So I'm like 210 right now. I guess this chair wasn't for it. But no worries. I'll just grab another one.
All right, I'm just gonna continue. Okay?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, man. Continue.
No, I'm just making sure because I can't see what's going on. That's hilarious.
Oh my god.
So long as you're okay, man, I'll just continue. We'll just keep it there. So now I'm not saying that every degree is worthless. But this is what I'm saying. If you're not in STEM, you may not have to go that route. So first thing I'm going to tell you is that first time I worked in tech was not actually too long ago, because remember, I worked in grocery, then I worked in retail, I worked in grocery retail, and I worked in different types of retail. So after a while, I just want folks to understand that I wasn't exactly, I wasn't exactly in the tech field. I got in the tech field because they actually came and got me and said, we're doing grocery delivery, and we need someone to build a distribution center system for us. And, we don't have a lot of money to pay you, but if you just help us out with this, when we get our investments, we'll really take care of you. And and that came via networking, right? So the first time I was there and I looked around and I seen folks, where did you go? Stanford, Berkeley, Harvard. I'm like, wow, there's a lot of high powered. I said, there's a lot of high powered folks here. And then I said, okay. And of course, I went to a historically black college in Central Louisiana. And so I was like, all right, well, there we go. A little different. And I was actually a little intimidated because I'm looking at all these Ivy League schools, but I knew what I was capable of. But I was intimidated, like, are they going to take my advice, or am I going to have to fight an uphill battle here? Because I'm not here to fight an uphill battle to show people what I know. Like, I offer advice. If it's unsolicited, I will move on, because life is very short. And so what I did, I'm telling you a story. There's this guy, his name was Ken there. And Ken was the tech lead of the company. And the only thing Ken did was code and fix problems. He was a number 3 employee that started there, employee number 3. I was employee number 47 at the time. Damn. And Ken was sitting there, and I was like, Ken, how did you learn how to do this? Because he knew, like, I swear, his screen looked like the Matrix, right? And I was like, how do you know how to do this? And I said, what school did you go to? And he looked at me and he starts laughing. He's like, I didn't learn this from a school.
Yeah, hands-on.
And it just blew my mind. And then I said, okay, well, if you learned this on your own, how did you get in this company? Because everyone's here from Stanford. He said, I made sure that I worked at a coffee shop right by Stanford, and I talked to everybody, and I solicited a job.
Damn. So, it sounded like he had a plan. It sounded like he had a plan.
Well, if you know Ken and meet him, he was born in Malaysia, very poor. He wasn't Malaysian, but he was born in Malaysia. This happens a lot in Asia, that your folks will flee one country to another country, to one country to another country, trying to either escape oppression or just have a better life. So you can have parents who lived in 4 different countries because sometimes they're closer together. And so what he said is like, once I got to LA and I could settle down and I could eat every day, I learned how to do this job. And then I went up here to Stanford and I got a job here. And so I heard you say something before, is put yourself in an area where there's men that can help you. And so look, we're all here for the ladies. I'm married. I love women, right? We're all here for the ladies. But we have to understand that your network will mostly be comprised of men who have a utility to each other.
Right.
And so what Ken did was he went there, he found the Mr. Heinrich, who was actually forming the company, and he seen he had a problem, and Ken said, I know how to do that.
I know how to fix it.
And that's all it took. And
he made himself valuable.
They were fast friends. So now everyone listening to me saying, what exactly does this mean, right? And so then I want to break it back and say, how does that happen? First thing we got to understand, every man has to understand what men's most 3 important assets that they have. Your number 1 asset as a man is time. Because you don't know how much you have. It's the most valuable thing you have. Unfortunately, these could be my last hours. I could have 30 more summers to go. I can have 35, 40 more summers to go. I don't know. Right? It's not guaranteed. So you have to treat your time like it's super important. But you can't live every day like it's your last. That's not what that means. It means maximize what you need to do.
Right. Sounds like note time. Sounds like time to take notes, but okay.
Maximize what you need to do. Right? And that's it. That's all you got to do. Next thing is understand your next important asset is money, because money is a finite resource. Please do not spend money like it's going out of style. Please do not think that it's easy to earn all the money in the world. That's just absolutely doesn't make sense. What you have to do is you have to say to yourselves that my money has to work for me, or at least has to be there to get me out of a jam every now and again. So that's very important. The last thing is your mental sanity. and men in general, we have to have a place where we can go quiet, collect our thoughts, and reformulate. You have to always keep reformulating. You cannot do that. So, and this last part is where women are so involved in that life, because if you're going home and there's just chaos, then you cannot live with that. That's why, I mean, if you listen to the late great Kevin Samuels, what he always said is like he heard a lady with like 4 kids yelling in the background. He's like, "Ma'am, it's 11 o'clock. What's going on there?" He's like, "Well, it sounds like chaos, because let's keep it real. Your kid should be asleep by 8:30.
Yeah.
If you're on your dean, your kid should be asleep by 8:30. So
all well behaved.
That's what it takes. So going back into that, I just wanted to set that up. So what is the purpose of your network, right? What is the purpose of your network? Your network is to not only be there so you can get help, it's to be there so you can help people.
Right.
The most important thing you do is to offer your help to people. It's the only way you get ahead. It's the nature of the universe. It's the nature of life.
Right.
The only way you're going to get ahead is to help other people. Now, I know folks...
Well, that's relationships. That's what relationships are based on.
But I got to tell you the truth. If you're not giving more than you're getting, then you will never get more than you give. That's just the way it works. If you don't... It's just like if you're at a job. And if you don't make yourself... If you're not... Like, I hear this all the time. Because I wind up training a lot of entry-level folks. And then as the entry-level folks, they want to move up. And then I say, okay, well, if you want to move up...
What are you doing to show that? Like, what are you doing to paint that picture that you could handle more than you already handle?
Right. If you want to move up, then you need to understand, like, what's available for you. And what's available for you is hard work. Like, I cannot promote somebody if they think they're going to work 8 hours a day. That doesn't work. Like, especially when you move up into director level, you're working 65, 70 hours a week. It's just the way it is. I mean, right now, at a little more advanced age, I still work 6 days a week. I mean, I still have a business outside of my day job, and I still have the content creator. So that's just the way it is. Now, I want to just briefly talk about ways and organizations that you can learn to establish a network. And this is where I'm going to spend most of the time is for this, because this is wisdom. I just want to teach you how to network. And I want to teach you how to network, not from the traditional way of going out to a club or meeting people when they're partying or inebriated. That's not networking that's going to advance you in the future all of the time. There are times where that's necessary, though. I mean, some of the best business that I've ever done, especially in Asia when I've been an international buyer, has been over dinner, over drinks. So I'm not going to act like that's not what we're doing here, you know. But what I'm going to say is that men in general, you want to go to a place where everybody needs to go, or somebody needs to go in that area, and that they're going to have an opportunity or a need to talk to you. So this is what I mean. Where are some organizations and clubs that you can establish a network? Okay, if you're religious, church is a great one. Now, I know a lot of folks, I would never go to church, this and that. Hey, I'm just telling you, if you're religious, church is a great place to go. By nature, you have businessmen with their family there. Church can be scandalous, which means that if church is scandalous, most businessmen have scandals. So that's just the way it works out. I mean, we could talk about business ethics the next time I'm here and like how you should control yourself, but I'm just saying that sometimes businessmen wind up having scandals and churches have scandals. Sometimes they go hand in hand, but also you find people who are kind of pre-vetted to your belief system. So if somebody's pre-vetted to your belief system, you don't have to go through a lot of unnecessary nonsense to get people. You don't have to go through a whole lot of unnecessary nonsense to get people rocking with you. Okay?
Can I add something to that religion real quick?
Sure.
It's funny because one of my clients is Jewish.
Right.
And every time he needs something, or someone needs something, and he draws a blank, he says, "Don't worry about it. I'll next time I go to the where they go to worship." He's like, "I'll get somebody," and he literally just goes there and asks someone else at his place of worship, and they just direct him. They just say, "Okay, this person right here will take care of you." And just like that, snap of a fingers, whatever that thing is, it's taken care of. Like whatever it is that he needs, or whatever profession someone in whatever profession that he needs. All he has to do is just go there and tell the rabbi, I need this. And the rabbi, the most the rabbi will say is, give me till tomorrow, or give me until next time we meet, and I'll have that person for you. And he has them every time. And I thought to myself, that right there is a great example of why they're able to dominate a lot of industries and a lot of business, because their network is so tight. The way they vouch for each other is, I think it's unmatched, to be honest with you.
Well, you have to, if I may interrupt, you have to understand that it's almost a pre-vetting.
No, exactly. That's what I mean.
And there's nothing better than to have vetted associates that you understand what they're about. Also, they're also held to a standard of conduct, because if they mess up, and if they mess over you,
It's on that person's name.
They may be escorted from from the organization, meaning that you could get kicked out, have to go to the church. There's shame. There's a social contract that you have within that synagogue, within that church, within that mosque. There's a social contract you have. So that's one thing. Next thing, and this is my favorite. I'm going to talk a lot about this. I'm going to tell the story of what I do now, right? And just part of my business that I formed here is any combat sports place will have brotherhood there. Any place where, especially Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, where you have to depend on somebody to let go of a choke or you pass out, when you tap, you will have a brotherhood and a foundation there. A lot of folks don't believe it. A lot of folks don't want to believe it. But the truth is this: the hardest thing that I've ever done in my life, combat sports wise, is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, because you have to think in real time while you can get choked, while you can get locked up, while you can get hurt. Now, when I say the hardest thing, is because the thought process is a little more complicated, because the traps are more complicated. And I know folks. I mean, I've boxed before, and I've fought Muay Thai. Very competitively fought Muay Thai in stadiums, and so I understand. When people say, no, well, this is a beautiful art, or this is more deadlier. But what I'm saying is that jiu-jitsu is the most difficult, because what you go through. But this is the beautiful part about the school I go to, right? The academy I go to, the academy that I teach, that I was teaching stand-up at, and that I teach private lessons out of right now. There's 0.29% of the nation's population are doctors. 0.29%. Right? Out of that 0.29% that are doctors, over 50% of them will try Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in their lifetime. In my school, in my academy, now 0.029%, not 29%, excuse me, 0.029%. So that's what I'm saying, is that this is of 1%, 29% of that 1%. So out of all of those folks who go there, right? Mm-hmm. So my academy has about 400 people that go to it. Out of those 400 people that go to it, there's 9 doctors that go there. 9. And 3 in medical school. So can you think of if you wanted to be a doctor, can you think of a better place to network than that? Where for 2 hours a day, you're going to be close contact with somebody. You're going to be almost fighting them, but after you shake hands, you give them a hug, and then you talk. And that's amazing, because you already get rid of any awkwardness that you have of introducing yourself to them. Mm-hmm. The person just tried to choke you.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, 4.9% of the United States are engineers. There's over 50 engineers that go there. So we have people, if you wanted to work at Facebook, going to Peninsula Self-Defense in Redwood City, literally there's like 10 people who work at Facebook. There's people who work at Google. There's people who work at PayPal. Oh, so this is, now I know, now if you wanted to work for these companies, you would be here anyway. You see what I'm saying? You would be in a peninsula, you would be in Silicon Valley anyway. And I'm telling you that at this school, we're far exceeding that. Let's say if you wanted to be a police officer, there's over 50 police officers that go there, that train there, mm-hmm. in law enforcement. Firemen, there's about 20 firemen last time I counted, right? And there's a ton of businessmen. There's a ton of people who work in biotech who aren't engineers. There's a ton of scientists who work there. I mean, literally, you call a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu professor. So there's literally one of the professors I'm friends with. He's not only a medical doctor, right, who works in the emergency room, but he's also a doctor of chemistry. So he's an MD and a PhD, and he's a professor in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And he's a family man. He has 2 teenage daughters and a wife, and this is how he goes to have fun. So he wants to talk to everybody there. This is how he socializes well.
Yeah, social.
So he'll tell you exactly. He'll tell you his whole story of how he did what he did. He's from your neck of the woods. He's from New York. I think he's actually from Queens, not Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
But he'll tell you everything about him. You can't find that in any other place. I've also experienced that going to boxing gyms. You go to boxing gyms and people do the same thing, right? You know, a lot of people who own small businesses box. A lot of people who are doctors box. You know, when I was going to Fairtex Muay Thai, same thing. And so I'm just telling you that combat sports and what combat sports are, and the reason why I'm spending so much time is that look at the benefits that you get from it. You're going to get yourself in shape. You're going to
learn how to defend yourself.
You're gonna defend yourself. You're gonna feel better about yourself, and you're gonna network.
Get your network.
So there's very few places where all of this can happen. All of this can happen here. Now, the last place I'm gonna mention, it's gonna be super, super controversial, but it's not controversial to me. Every major city in the United States has a place where Masons gather. And so Freemasonry is a fraternity. It's the world's largest fraternity. I'm not telling anyone to be a Freemason. If I figured out if people wanted to be a Freemason, one of the easiest things to do is to go join Freemasonry, because you just to be one, you have to ask. So it's not like a big deal. It's not like this super crazy secret society. But what I'm saying is that you have so many different aspects of Freemasonry. Like you have Shriners who are Masons. You have a lot of people who do a lot of work in the community, which are Masons. Architects. I mean, if you really want to drill down to it, most of the presidents of the United States were a part of that fraternity. Now, whether you think it's good or bad, I'm talking about networking opportunities. Like I can tell you that, a lot of stories about Masonry is like over. Without speaking too much out of pocket, it's a lot of fantastic things like rituals that don't really exist in that. Like most of my elder family members before me were Masons, and it's just one of those things. But these are all three places where you can sit around and meet folks if you don't have this opportunity. Now, remember what I'm talking about. I want to circle back and say you didn't have an opportunity to put yourself in a university, but you still can get around people who are doing things in your community to help you move ahead. And so this is, I don't know if that, how much value that has to anyone, but maybe they didn't think of that angle, because if you don't have a network, you're done. And a lot of folks want to talk about being high value man, and the late great Kevin Samuels really popularized that phrase, even though that phrase was around for right. That phrase, I heard that phrase in the 80s, but the deal is this. The absolute deal is this. Most of us, if that's only less than 10% of the population, by pure mathematical statistics, most of us ain't gonna make it.
Right.
But what can you be? You can be a high earner. Mm-hmm. You can be somebody who takes care of your family. You can be a very successful businessman that doesn't have that LinkedIn presentation, right? Mm-hmm. And that when I say that LinkedIn presentation or that LinkedIn level, you may not be the, I think the most prestigious job was the Northern California home medical equipment manager for, healthcare hospice, the largest hospice company. That was, I had the largest territory that I was in charge of the medical equipment distribution than anybody else in the United States. The largest territory to cover in miles, not the most dense territory, because the most dense territory is in Florida, but the largest territory to cover mileage, that was mine. But that doesn't necessarily mean anything. What's more important is, do you have the ability to take care of your family? Do you have the ability to take care of yourself? Do you have the ability to live a good life? Do you have the ability to retire with money? Because I think a lot of times we're missing practicality. And I'm just going to tell you folks, it's very difficult to just get it. Let's not think we're going to strike gold. Let's say yes. We're not going to just strike gold. We need to work and get ourselves there.
Well, I mean, that's decades.
We get ourselves there through networking. And I have a lot of stories where just networking and just being myself and just being generous with my time actually helped me great. So just a couple of things I want folks to understand is that over 60% of the United States is going to work in the service industry. meaning retail, food service, hospitality. That's most of the United States. There's money to be made. There's six-figure salaries in every one of those that I counted out, that I pointed out. There's
Right.
over six-figure salaries in every one of those industries that I pointed out.
If
If you
if
want to,
if you make it to the upper management.
uh, for retail, middle management. For retail, you just got a store manager with bonus is going to earn six figures easy. And
Wow.
but how are you going to get there? Well, let me tell you something. Your network's the only thing that's going to get you there. Let's face it, most jobs either come from nepotism or networking, right? Because if it comes
Yep.
down to it, if you have a low barrier to entry, which most of us are going to have a job with a low barrier to entry, most of us are going to have a career that anybody can do. How are you going to make yourself different there? Well, number one, you need to show that you're willing to do more than the other person for the same money so you can get more. I've done that and it works. And I'm not talking about being a slave to the system. Number two, you have to learn everything about where you are so you can take it with you. You are under no obligation to stay at a company. You are under no obligation to show loyalty to someone who does not, or a company that does not show loyalty to you. You are under no obligation. You are under obligation to learn everything about that company and take it with you so you can install it in your own company, number one, or in a different company and be the star there. I became a star because I took what I learned at Safeway Incorporated and I went and I took it to Dollar Tree stores. Dollar Tree was the dollar largest discounter or dollar
What
only
retailer? Yeah.
United States retailer in the United States. When I left Safeway Incorporated and took what I knew about grocery, when they started doing grocery, I became district manager of the largest district in the United States. That's what I did there. And I was under no obligation to stay at Safeway and take the knowledge that they gave me there. I took it there and I mean, it was the first time in my life I actually knew I was making enough money where I wasn't worried about going to the bank. I wasn't worried about going to the store. Like, I could go and, like, what are we going to eat tonight? Just, I have it, Uh, Dating was a lot easier. I'm buying cars or whatever, all the stupid stuff you do when you're a lot younger. That was a lot easier. So that was one of the first places. Well, I took what I learned from there, became an international buyer. I was working overseas for 2 years. I was under no obligation to stay with Dollar Tree. I wasn't under obligation. I started learning what they were doing in marketing, and I learned jobs in marketing, and I learned how, like, when you buy an aisle in a store, that you're responsible for the sales of it, and as soon as I learned that, I went somewhere else and put that in place.
Wait.
And so
Wait.
what I'm
Hold
telling
on. That's how it works. Somebody buys an aisle.
All right, so check it out. Most places you buy an aisle.
Oh.
In an established retailer, you're responsible for an aisle. So because think about it, let's say an aisle has wooden figurines, right? So if you're responsible for buying wooden figurines, you're going to buy wooden figurines for probably the entire company. So if an aisle has wooden figurines, if an aisle has a team, not just a person, but usually a team, even though sometimes it's a person, like silk flowers. So you have an aisle with one side of the aisle of silk flowers. That's one person responsible for buying that everywhere. And you find out, from either make deals with the warehouses where you're getting from or with your contacts at the highest level, and you get it for the cheapest price you can. So if you're selling it for $1, you need to get it to the United States for about 17 cents to make money off of it. Once you get it to the United States for 17 cents, you're going to spend a quarter to get it someplace, and then you're going to have over 50% retail markup. I learned all of that by being inside of a store and asking people when they came in to walk my store, how does it work? I learned all of that by asking questions. Nobody told me anything. Nobody wanted to tell me anything. Nobody told me anything.
Did you get the big dumb black guy scenario?
Always, always, it's the best because I'm 6'2". I think at the time I was like 260 pounds. You know, um, and all the time that, like, I would ask people questions and they would be so happy that I was asking them a question because nobody would ask the questions I would ask. And then my bosses would get jealous because I was asking questions. And then I had a boss who would tell me, man, you're a lot smarter than I thought you would. I get that all the time. I'm always a lot smarter than people think. It actually works to my advantage because in negotiations, I usually am able to outflank them. Excuse me, I'm sipping my tea. I hope I'm not rude to your folks
Oh
there.
no.
I respect your viewership. I don't want them to think that But it's tea. It's not Ripple or anything. They think as old people we drinking Ripple or or Stumpy Bumpies or Seagram's gin, but I'm actually drinking herbal tea.
Well, not anymore. Not anymore.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I can catch you
Yeah,
going
we
for
try
us.
to clean
So,
it up. So what would you suggest with guys? Because I think what it is that I think why it's hard for a lot of guys to get started with networking is
yes,
because they might not have identified what their value is, and even if they do have a skill set or a value, they don't know how to leverage it confidently. So what would you
excellent.
say with that?
This is big. A lot of folks don't even realize, like you said, the skills that they actually have.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of folks have no idea. Like, like they'll tell me, "Oh, well, only thing I do is I work for this company, and I'm responsible for putting labels on an assembly line. If the labels are wrong, I got to start it over. If it's the wrong one, oh, so hold on. So you do quality control? Literally, you told me you do quality control. You're in charge of quality control. You write down you do quality control and you list everything you do there, and then you could go get a job doing quality control. So the first thing you have to do is learn how to maximize and personify what you do and could make it sound good. You are under no obligation to undersell yourself to anybody. Period. So that's number one thing. Number two thing is you need to not, like right now, I didn't have to go nowhere today, so I'm wearing a t-shirt. You need to not leave your house looking like who did it and why. You need to leave your house looking like you're going to meet somebody important. Now, look, you're in Miami, so I'm not telling you to be wearing a suit and walk around looking like you're walking around like you're just stepping out of court.
Yeah, but I want
But
to though.
I'm telling you though, you need to look like you're going somewhere with a purpose, and you could do that very easily. You could wear like you are under no obligation to wear tennis shoes every place. You're a grown up. And I know it's maybe a lot of folks are in there saying, "Oh man, what are you talking about, Grover? This old dude." No, I'm telling you, you can wear some shoes. You can wear shoes with jeans, and you can wear a t-shirt. But you need to look like you're going someplace with a purpose. You also need to look like, I also tell people, keep a jacket in their car if they're driving around, a jacket so they can go out to dinner. I mean, there's been many times where I've had someone say, "Hey man, you should go to dinner with us, but it's a nice place." And the only thing I've had to do, because I was wearing some slacks, I was wearing some pants, not some jeans and some shoes, or even if I was wearing jeans, and I just took, I mean, right now in my trunk, I have a blazer, and I just put on my blazer and dressed it up, and I was able to go out. You don't want to miss an opportunity when an opportunity comes knocking. You don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing you need to do is take every training that a company gives you. A lot of times, especially in the past, companies used to do a lot of free training. Like the company I'm involved in right now, they have a LinkedIn Learning where they actually have purchased courses on how to do things from LinkedIn that you could just watch whenever you want. You should watch every single one of those if it's free. Like, why are you complaining about the price of university?
Mm-hmm.
Then when you get free knowledge, you don't use it.
Skillshare too is pretty dope.
Yes, YouTube is pretty dope. There's no
Oh, I
excuse not
love
to know how to
YouTube.
do Google Sheet. There's no excuse not to know how to do Google Documents. There's no
Mm-hmm.
excuse not how to do Google Slide because there's free tutorials. These are all
Yeah.
things that just making your resume look good. There's no reason not to do that. So building your skill is something like people talk about networking. People have to know that you have something to offer the network because remember, everybody in the network needs to give more than they pull out. And I know
Mm-hmm.
it sounds weird, but if you have a network of 4 folks and you're giving more than you pull out, then you're going to be more valuable. Now, I want to use an example of Scott, my partner at Tip Network. Scott, everything he does, every thumbnail, every editing, it's all self-taught. It's all self-taught. So then what else do you do? You've all self-taught, if you self-taught yourself how to, you build skills. So, and when I say, I mean Photoshop, Adobe, everything. He self-taught himself. So now he has so much to give, and eventually he's given out enough information. He's helped enough folks that now folks are like, "Hey, maybe we should throw Scott some money for him to do this eventually," because now Scott's in a position to say, "Well, okay, I'll help you guys, but now I'm busy. Now I have too much on my so now you have to compete for the time." That's how you do it. See, a lot of folks think it's not just out of generosity, but this generosity is going to lead to money. Right, and you got to draw the line. Of course, you don't want to just like always be doing something free for somebody, but taking out a free
Mm-hmm.
project every now and again. Like there's been many people I'll drop the link with and help them with content ideas. I mean, I teach martial arts 1 day a week, and there's folks who get a deep discount. And that same person who
Mm-hmm.
I gave a deep discount to because they weren't able to afford my hourly rate brought me 2 people who are
Who
paying
pay
more than
exactly? Who pay? Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that happens you with personal training all the time.
Yeah, with personal training, with my artwork, with many things. I mean, well, here's the thing. You should always want to be like practicing new skills and adding to the arsenal. And anytime you need something done, it's a great opportunity to learn something new, to try to do it for yourself first. Even if you're going to outsource it, still learn it yourself. Like my grandfather used to always tell me, there's a difference between not being able to do something and not having the time to do something. So you want to be able to do it yourself because that also helps you know how you want it done when you're ready to pay somebody. And also when you're doing things for free and practicing, now you could be a lot more confident in how you leverage that skill when you're ready to monetize it. Because you,
Absolutely.
right, because you had all that practice without pressure. Like when I decided to start painting, I was already in my 30s. I was like 33 when I decided I wanted to start painting, and everybody laughed at me. They were like, "You never painted a picture before." So I said, "Listen, I'm just gonna take 3 years." It was 2013. I said, "I'm just gonna take 3 years, and I'm just gonna teach myself how to paint." Again, everybody laughed, but by 2015, I was selling paintings at will. Now you got to understand, there's a difference between selling your artwork and selling your artwork at will. Most artists struggle to sell their art, right? But I came at it from a different approach. But I knew first I had to get the skill level up. So I just created the time and the environment to do it with no pressure. So I think guys just need to just say, you know what? If I can learn it, I'm gonna learn it. And I guarantee you guys, later in life, the opportunity to use it will arise. It will come up later.
Yeah, there's absolutely no substitute for increasing your skill level. Regardless of what you do, there's absolutely no substitute for increasing your skill level. Also, if the only time that you increase your skill level is when you're in a structured environment, that means that you're not a self-starter. So 90% of folks are looking for self-starters.
Right.
90%. Uh,
Yeah. Because they don't want to have to micromanage you. They don't want to have to be over you, telling you what to do. They kind of want to trust that you're going to figure it out.
well, most people, if you micromanage them, they're not going to want that anyway. So here's the biggest thing. The management styles have changed so much, and this is something I can talk about being in management. I mean, I was actually a manager at the turn of the century, and so now this is 22 years later, and I was probably 98 was, no, 98 I was, 98 I was working. I was taking trips abroad, so I wasn't really managing. So 99. And so 99, from 99 to now, it's totally changed. So 99, they said don't be a micromanager, but you were a list giver, which is micromanaging, right? So I would give somebody a list of what has to get done, and then I'd make them check in with me 4 times to get the list done. If they're entry level or even the folks who are managing the entry level folks, let's say if I was 3 levels up, I would give them a list and they would have to report to me at the end of the day. Now, just the way teams work in general, if you're put in a team, everybody has a job, everybody has a deadline, and it's that team member's job to reach out for help if they need help. Or if not, it's just expected that you're going to finish. And if you don't finish, then you're going to be affected on your evaluation and your ability to monetize what you're doing, meaning that you may get let go. I mean, that's just the bottom line. So whether you're contracting, whether you're working for yourself, if you're not a self-starter and not a planner and not a time manager, you're going to be in a lot of trouble one way or the other. Um, I made a lot of points here, and I'm coming to the end of what I have prepared for you folks, because I also believe that when you're talking, you shouldn't talk for like 2 hours of this stuff because it just becomes overwhelming. But one thing is that I made a lot of points here, and I got a couple more stories that I could tell you. But the number one point is I never used my education advanced. After base skills, your education is probably not as important as you think. So let's say you have let's say the entry level, the gatekeeper for a position you want is a undergrad degree, bachelor's degree. Okay, so a lot of people can get a bachelor's degree, maybe like 40% of the nation, right? So if that's the gatekeeper for it, or just some college sometimes, then once you get there, okay, what do you have to differentiate you from somebody else? Like, somebody coming in, like, you better have a lot of experience, and you have to be able to show how your experience helped every company, and that you take your experience with you. A lot of folks, they do all of this stuff, and then they leave those skills there and say, well, I never did that before. For instance, let's say I know somebody who actually sold meat. That sounds weird, but they sold like cuts of meat. Now, they didn't go place house to house or anything like that to sell cuts of meat, but they were at a meat counter and they would upsell meat, right? And so that was their job they did. Then they went and they did something else, and then they did something else. And so if you didn't take anything from that job, that you had, as temporary as it was, then you can't use it in your experience, which means you're going to have a gap in your experience. You see what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I see what you're saying, because it's a
So,
little
so
too
we
much
don't,
movement there.
right. They're going to look at it and they're going to say, okay, so let's see. You spent 5 years at this company, and then you spent a year at this company. What did you do at this company? Oh, I was doing this. It was unrelated. Okay. Well, to me, as somebody who's looking to fill positions, that's a gap in your work. You mean you don't know what you did there at all that can benefit you now? So you spent a year just riding a tricycle? That doesn't make sense. So, because even if you're doing anything, what did you learn from there, and how did that help you? And then, as an adult, I'm thinking, why did you do something that wasn't beneficial to you after you're like 24? So after you're 24, why are you jumping into positions that you're not going to learn from? I mean, we can quote Kevin Samuels. He learned a lot from working at Papa Do's. And so Papa Do's has nothing to do with being an image consultant or a salesman, but he learned how to deal with people. So you could definitely, I'm way interested in somebody who was waiting tables during university. I asked him, well, what were you doing? What did you learn from waiting tables? And why did you do it? And why did you learn that there? And because I'm trying to figure out your thought process, because everybody can breeze through an interview. What does this have to do with networking? Well, I can tell you that it's really impressive when somebody who's like working at a grocery store says, I actually met this person here and this is how I did this. Because, well, how did you meet him there? Well, I talk to everybody. I said hello to everybody. I interact with people. So in my mind, I'm like, wow, you can work well with the team. That's awesome. I can deal with you because since you're talking to folks, you can work with a team really well. You see, and so especially when you have teams, it's very hard to find people, especially now because team sports are kind of dying down. It's hard to find people who have those skills that they didn't develop in high school or even in college, And so that's one of the things. Just understanding that if you want to be a solopreneur, if you want to be a YouTuber, if you want to be in the fitness industry, everything's going to depend on your ability to network with people and make your business work. But I do not advertise for my martial arts school. I don't advertise at all. It's all word of mouth, and I've been busy for the last 7 years.
Yeah, I mean, definitely sounds like it. I mean, it sounds like you don't need any damn advertisement.
Yeah, well, no, I don't want to advertise because I do like the ability to pick who I work with.
Yeah, I just about to say that because you can't really choose who comes in.
Owning your business,
and where you stay at, that's just some type of lawsuit waiting to happen.
Yeah, so I say that for another stream about picking your clients well.
Yeah.
But I've actually fired clients who wanted to pay a lot of money because I was worried about what they wanted to learn how to do. It's just I just don't have time for the problem. One thing that I want to say, this is the last story I'll tell. Then I'll answer some questions and I'll hop on out. One thing though, and this is really big, and it's how I actually moved up so quickly and Safeway. Because I was going to school, I broke my leg, I came back, I was kind of like going back and forth with management above me, and they just told me, why are you even in school? You're just going to be a clerk here. And so someone she thought she was sliding me to insult me. She's like, you're just a dumb ex-football player. You're going to be a clerk here. And so I was teaching kids karate at a little school in the city. And it was kind of an affluent city. It was right by a really affluent city. So they have places in the Bay Area where there's not really businesses up in the hills where people just live up in the hills. They all have to come down to the flatlands to do business. And so I was in a city called Burlingame. I was teaching martial arts there. Really, I was just doing it for extra money because I like, I like food. So I was just trying to live. But I always acted a certain way. I always gave a lot of attention to the end user who was the kids there. I was always fair with them, but I was always tough with them. Like I tell the kids 100% of the time, like I'm not your mom. I don't care. You're going to do the push-ups. You're going to do this. And so this lady comes up to me, and I didn't really recognize her. And she was like, thanks. And I was like, hey, no problem. It's my job. I got a lot of parents I speak to. I have this tradition that if, I always call the mom, I always call the dad, dad. Hey, mom, thank you. Because I can't remember, if you have 40 kids, you can't remember their last names until they're there for a while. And then I want to remember someone's last name and not remember somebody else's last name, because then you're alienating somebody. They think you like their kids more than their kids and this and that. So I just try to keep it very briefly, ma'am or sir or mom or dad, and keep it like that. Anyway, I digress. I'm sorry to go so far into it. So one day, the same lady walks in, and she's dressed up, and she has this gold pin on, and she's the executive vice president of the company I'm working for. She's an EVP of retail. And she goes to me, and she's like, I really enjoy the way you've been teaching my kids for the last year. And I had no idea. Like I said, there's a lot of kids. And I was like, well, thank you. She's like, you tell them stuff I can't tell them, and I'm their mom. And I'm like, yes, because I'm not their mom. I said, ma'am, you're here to nurture them. I'm here to push them. So if they say they can't do 5 push-ups, I'm like, good, you can do 6. I don't care about what they're telling me they can't do. I want them to tell me what they can do. And once they start telling me what they can do, then we can start working on maximizing. And so she was like, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I was thinking about being a store manager. And she's like, yeah, I can see you have a lot of leadership qualities about you. I was in the management program within 6 months. And that's just from not even having a relationship, actually giving them my time, spending extra time with kids. I had no idea, and I didn't care who she was at the time. Of course, I cared when I found out that she was, when I found out that she was like number 2 in the company, I cared. But I didn't know at the time. And so, once again, I was in a situation. I was put myself in the right place, and I was acting appropriately in the right place. And that's something else. The last thing I'll leave with before I'll answer any questions that you have or anyone else has is that acting appropriately all the time is not a joke. Acting appropriately all the time is what you need to do, how to conduct yourself. You should act like your parents are watching you almost. And just, everyone gets out of pocket, loses their temper, or does something they don't want to do. But you have to minimize that as an adult and do that as little as possible. Because if you're trying to network, you can't be known as a hot-headed person. You can't be known as a person who's just going to ruin a deal because somebody says something negative to you. You can't be known as a person, they don't like to work with these type of people or that type of people. If it's business, then as long as you're not doing something business-wise that's totally against your ethics, then you have an obligation to your company to maximize what you have there to make money. When you become an officer in a company, you have an obligation to make as much money for that company as you can, or you should be terminated, and you can be arrested if you're a CEO if you don't take the most lucrative deals and maximize. And so, I really think folks kind of get in their feelings and understand and don't understand that if you're here to network, if you're here to be somewhere, you don't have to. These aren't your best friends. These are your colleagues.
Right.
Some of your colleagues may become your best friends in the future. Mm-hmm. But if your vetting process for your colleagues is the same as your vetting process for your close friends, then that doesn't make sense. There's a problem with you. But if your vetting process for your colleagues includes barriers to entry that has things that have nothing to do with business, then you will be unsuccessful with business. And that will come out in your networking immediately, because it only takes one person within your network to say, well, this person is not ready to be here, or we can't take him here because he's like this, or he drank too much last time he was here and he made a fool of himself. And you're done. You're absolutely done, because now you're taking more from the network than you're giving. Mm-hmm. So that's all I have about that.
Okay, facts.
Hope I didn't bore everybody half to death.
Listen.
I know folks, they want to hear about, talking to ladies and this and that.
Yeah, but you know what though? You know what? When you take care of business, then you can do that. When you got your money right, you got your network right, then you can get a lot more accomplished with the ladies. And now it's tough because there's so many guys that it's all about what they want to hear rather than what they need to hear. And these recent generations are behind. They're behind on everything. All the things, that we're trying to tell these guys are things they were supposed to have been taught when they were much younger. So if we can catch the young guys listening, then they're kind of on time. But then the guys that are already in their, mid and late 20s, they're already late, with this type of stuff, and they want to just be entertained. Everybody just wants to be entertained. So, that's kind of where we are right now. But it's funny because the things that they're not getting good results with and the things that they're complaining about are a result of them not taking care of these type of basic fundamental things that are going to give them some type of value. Because think about it, even like, I'm always trying to tell guys that when you first meet a girl, you first get to coming around a girl or get her coming around you, she doesn't know you. So how does she assess whether or not you're valuable? Is it going to be just you're just going to be material things? Is it going to be the clothes you wear? It's just going to be your car and your watch? Or is it going to be how you interact with other people, how other men treat you, how other men see you? So if you have the network and you have respect and admiration from other men and men that are in good positions, that changes everything. And like I was telling you the other day that I was giving another client to my girl, and because she's meal prepping now, she's prepping for like a few people, and one of my clients wanted preps, and I know several people that do preps, but of course I'm gonna have a bias. For my girl. So I sent him over to her, and I was just kind of giving her like a heads up, like, hey, just make sure you prioritize this guy. Go ahead and put the extra effort or whatever. This dude's a millionaire, and she was real nonchalant about it because me introducing her to millionaires is not. It's not like it's not that unheard of at this point. So then we were talking, and I was like, well, real quick, let's just go over it. Like, how many guys have I introduced you to that are millionaires? And we got to like 6 or 7 dudes, and then I was like, well, how many millionaires did you know before we got together? And she was like, none. She's like, I knew of some, but I didn't personally know them or whatever. And I was like, out of all the guys that you dated previously, how many of them introduced you to a millionaire? She said, obviously none. If I didn't know any before I started dating you, I was like, yeah, I was just being a dick. Yes, obviously, that's the math. And the point I'm trying to make, I'm not fucking bragging or name dropping or anything. The point I'm trying to make is I know these men because I prioritize networking. I always have. And there's so many things that I feel that the average woman is doing far better and more keenly than the average man, her male counterpart. So when I hear women say shit like, oh, I'm not dating right now, I'm single. Well, why are you single? Because I'm focusing on my career. I'm focusing on my... And I think to myself, why when I talk to the guys, they don't say that? Very seldom when I talk to a guy does he say, man, I ain't really dating anybody right now because I'm focusing on my career. I'm trying to get this business started. You know what I mean? I'm like, wow. And then you see how women... meet and assess men, and they kind of keep them in a little emergency jar. That's like, he's a head mechanic? Okay, duly noted. I'm gonna hold on to his card in case something goes wrong with my Lexus. Oh, this guy's a lawyer? Oh yeah? Oh, he's a divorce attorney? Oh, well, I'm not married, but when one of my friends is getting divorced, I'll be sure to DM him on Instagram, and I just think to myself,
I'm not married, but I'm gonna get ready.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? But I just think to myself, like, why are women doing so many of these things far better than men? And I'm like, why aren't guys thinking like that? Because that's how I'm thinking. When I go out, when I used to drink, if I go out, I was always more interested in the guys that I would meet. So yeah, we know like everybody has all these Allende is gay jokes right now. I'm gonna address that when I get around to it, because I'm not gonna let that take me out of my schedule. Right? So yeah, so there's gonna be a bunch of childish dudes trying to make a joke out of that. It's like, okay, whatever, homeboy. But that's the thought process I had, which is why I never discriminated against the gay community. Just because I'm not gay, or just because I'm not Jewish, or just because I'm not Muslim, doesn't mean I'm not gonna shake those men's hands, have some type of conversation where we can relate to each other, and then duly note what it is that they're good at. So that if I ever need someone that's in that field, I can reach out to them and at least bounce some things off of them and see what we can do. It's just good to have those contacts and to have that network. And of course, you have to be, just like you said, you have to be prepared to give or add more value then you're expecting to receive, pay it forward. You know what I mean? There's no mystery in that, and it's like
if I can interrupt you, it's like if we're doing this and we alluded to it before. If I'm just jumping on people's streams and I don't make content, and I just jump on people's streams, and there's very few personalities can add so much value by jumping on someone else's stream that you don't look and say, well, where's this person's page, and don't trip on it. Or if I'm jumping on other people's streams and it's like never like you have 2 videos but you've been on like 55 people's streams, and you're like, well, it's kind of like you're kind of like trying to cipher their folks. I'm not, for the people who have the talent to do it, that's one thing, but it's just one of those things. Since we're on YouTube and we're talking about content, and you were talking about something else, but I can just relay it to folks if they want to be content creators. You always have to offer more than you're getting. I mean, every time I jump on someone's stream, I try to add value, but I also don't try to stay for 55 hours and suck up all the oxygen. I want to give and then leave. I don't want to take. So it comes to a certain point, and after you've said what you have to say, if you don't have nothing to talk about, why are you there? If it's a subject I'm not good at, like I see Jay Takashi in the chat, word up. I mean, he does like anime. He does an anime stream, which it's dope to look at. But I have nothing to say about that, bro. I just look at it. I have nothing to say about it now. My little nephew. I mean, I sent it to my little nephew, and he was like, "Oh, thanks," right? Because that's what he likes.
Yeah, I don't know anything about anime.
I'm not gonna act like I'm versed on it, right? Now, if there's somebody talking about music production, or something I've done before, or anything I've done before, I may be able to add something to it. But I don't want to. I got to be able to add and not just take and not just suck out oxygen. So I hate to interrupt you, but I just wanted to add to that what you were saying.
No, I mean, absolutely. So I mean, I just think it's a mindset kind of thing. How are we thinking? And it's kind of funny to me, because I think a lot of the things that guys are missing and ignoring are actually the keys to getting the things that they keep focusing on so damn much.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's just a shift of attention, a shift of focus. So like I had a saying that I used to share with the homies. I used to say, anytime you step into a room, you need to figure out who the most important person in that room is. And I feel like it fell on deaf ears most of the time. But I'm always looking for, like, who is the most important person in this room? Because I want to meet that person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I want to meet that person. And that's kind of how you learn to more so carry yourself as a man of value that's going to be recognizable. So I definitely like, you mentioning that guys got to dress the part. You know what I mean? Like, for me right now, I actually do dress the part still.
Right.
Even though I'm not in the shirt and the tie like how I want to be more times, I'm still technically dressing the part, because 80% of the time I'm dressed to go to the gym. And that's how a lot of very valuable men relate to me, is wanting to get in shape and wanting to dominate fitness.
But that's important, because that's one of the places that intersects that everybody goes to. Mm-hmm. And so, like, the reason why I use a martial arts gym is because that's where I go to at least 3 times a week. Matter of fact, I'm going there at noon tomorrow. I'm excited, right? Because I get to exercise, but also I get to see people I haven't seen.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And they're friends of mine now, but that's a place where everybody intersects. You got to find places. Society is very segregated. You have to understand that if you are not somebody who makes 6 figures, very rarely do you get to hang out with people who make 6 figures.
Right.
If you're not someone who makes, and 7-figure people don't hang out with 6-figure people. They let 6-figure people work for them, but they don't hang out with them. So you have to find out a place where you intersect, and where you intersect is at places where everybody goes, where there's no really delineation between it. So, like, I actually pay extra to go to a private gym to lift weights, because who's in there? Engineer, businessman, and a lot of fitness influencers are in there. A lot of professional trainers.
They're paying to not be around the normies. That's what they're paying for, to not be bothered by normies.
And so I'm there, and then they're like, "Oh, well, what do you do?" First thing they're gonna ask is, "What do you do when you go there?" And they're like, and I'm like, "Oh, well, I teach the Thai boxing program next door." They're like, "Oh, okay, cool."
Makes sense.
It just makes sense to them that I'm there, right?
You're a boss.
Like, oh, all right, OG, cool. And then it's like, then we start talking about other things we could do, and there's networking opportunities there. Mm-hmm. Same thing with Brazilian jiu-jitsu schools that I roll at. I'm sitting there, and they're like, "Oh, what do you do?" And it's like, literally, I found out about this new vertical that I'm working for through there. I was with somebody who he just closed his company. He's the CEO of an on-demand company, of a storage on-demand company, and he's like, man, we just closed the company and we're going to do something else. I was like, cool. He's like, hey, I hear this company's doing new verticals, man. Kind of sounds like it's up your alley. Let me connect you with someone there. And that's just how it works. It's just how it works. But you don't get to be there unless you're there. Like, you don't get that information unless you're there.
Unless you're there. You know how young I was when I learned that? Let me tell you something. Guess how young I was when I learned that right there.
I don't. You were in New York, so you could probably learn that as a teenager because
yes,
that's a lot in New York.
Preteens. I learned that. Between the age of 13 and 14 because my mom was working for a company that distributed like bottles, just like drinks in general, whether it be alcohol, soda, beer, whatever. Just like it was a warehouse that distributed, the bottles. And her boss was, pretty well off, rich Italian dude. And I used to work around the shop. I used to, clean up, sweep, and all that kind of stuff. And then he decided to give my mom a loan to open up her own business. She opened up a party goods store. So, like a G, I rolled in on him and I was like, yo, I want a promotion too. Like, I want a better job too. He was like, yo, I already pay you, off the books or whatever. I'm already paying you under the table or whatever. So I was like, nah, man, I need to start making more money too. You know what I'm saying? You got to give me something. His name was Kaj. I was like, yo, you got to give me something, Kaj. And he was like, well, what do you want? I was like, I told you I want to make more money. And he was like, are you willing to do more work? I'm like, yo, I'm always looking for more work. So he said, all right, let me talk to some people. Come back and I'm going to have something for you this weekend. Come back and see me on Friday, right? This dude gave me an address and put me on the bus for 2.5 hours. All the way up to Rye, New York, bro. Rye, New York is it's like an hour and a half drive, but on the bus, it takes like 2.5 hours. Because the bus keeps stopping. And I didn't really know where I was going. He just gave him the address. He said, you're going to go up here. You're going to go to this place. You're going to look for this person. And they're going to put you to work. You know where he sent me? He sent me to a golf course. Okay, it was a private golf club. And I was caddying, bro. And all the guys that, that played golf there were like all millionaires and multimillionaires. So that right there is what you're talking about. Putting yourself somewhere where these type of people are going to intersect. And not only that, but they're on their leisure. So, needless to say, I was able to overhear a lot of very interesting conversations. I was able to see how business is done, how those type of guys network. And I think that probably had a large influence on my perspective, on the way that I thought about people basically doing what the 48 Laws of Power basically is talking about, what that book is basically talking about, is how you make it from one status to another status. And how you play the people around you like a chessboard. You know what I mean? How can I be of value to this person? And then through this person, how can I meet this person? And through this person, how can I meet these people? And how can I be essential to these people, to that person? And you work your way from being a nobody with humble beginnings to being someone that has status and power yourself through relationships. So, yeah, man. So it's real like that, guys. It's definitely real like that. So for all you young guys, like Grover said, time is your riches. Time is your currency. So spend it wisely.
I would tell folks just so honestly that, I mean, and the most important thing you could do is listen to an older cat and listen to how he describes how time flied on him. So it's like every 50-year-old man knows exactly what they did on their 21st birthday, and it doesn't seem like that long ago. And if it doesn't seem like a long time ago, that means that they didn't do a lot of meaningful stuff in the middle of their life. So you want to really fill your life with meaningful times, with networking, with abilities to make money. I mean, we really have to understand that how important it is to make a financial means for yourself in this country, especially, but in this world. And I mean, nobody is going to No, look, you're a guy. Nobody's coming to save you.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's coming. Nobody's coming to bail you out.
Nope.
No one's coming. No one's.
Well, someone in your network might.
Yeah, well, someone might bail you out, but I mean, like, even your network, what they're gonna do is they're gonna show you where to get some money, but they're not gonna like give you the money very.
Oh yeah.
If they do, it might be a loan that you can't pay back. So, like, I tell folks, like, first thing you want to do is you want to show that you're hardworking to your network. So, one of the biggest things I was able to do was every time I had free time, I went and did something else to monetize my time. I know guys who just play video games all the time, and I'm like, that's cool, but if you're not getting paid for it, don't complain about being broke.
Really?
Don't complain about not having money to do what you want to do if you're not figuring out a way to make money. And there's a lot more convenient ways to make money. I mean, like day trading didn't exist the way it exists. Whether you think it's a scam or whether you think you shouldn't do it, day trading did not exist the way like in the 90s like it does now. There was no such thing as cryptocurrency. And if all of these things that people have found a ways to make some means from, and of course it's a roller coaster, it's up and down, it's scary, whatever. But the thing that I'm saying is that 90% of us aren't going to hit it big in none of those. Most of us are going to have to get it the old-fashioned way. Most of you are going to have to get it out the mud, and you don't get it out the mud like some of the any ladies in the chat. Excuses, but when I talk to a lady and I say, hey, how do you do it? She said, I got it out the mud. And then you find out that she had like child support.
Yeah, she had some sugar daddies.
Yeah, you didn't get it out the mud. You got help from everybody.
Yeah, I mean, of course.
Very rarely is a dude good looking enough to have some lady just supporting him from head to toe. I mean, because not only does he have to be somebody of amazing stature, but he also has to be somebody who would allow that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, not only do you have to allow that to happen, but you gotta be like with a subpar woman, bro. You're gonna have to be kissing and sleeping with and making love with and holding hands with and spending time with a subpar woman. You're gonna have to sneak around just to get some attractive coochie. I mean, it's too much, bro. I personally couldn't do it. I know guys that did it. I was like, I don't know how you do it, bro. God bless you.
She's going public with you on it too, man. She's gonna.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. God bless you, bro. I'd rather just work for it, get mine, and keep it moving. But to be honest with you, bro, I've had a lot of jobs where I've worked hella hard. Did some grunt work type jobs. Did a lot of manual labor. I did demolition, the whole 9 yards. But I tell you this much: I never did a job out of desperation. So that's why when they're like, "Oh, I heard Allende do anything for money," it's like, bitch, you don't know Allende. You're confusing a motherfucker with that much game with a motherfucker that was desperate. I've worked with a lot of niggas that were doing the same damn job as me, but out of desperation and doing it desperately, whereas I'm doing the shit, out of game and out of a G. I mean, even there was a time when I was working at the damn car wash. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to dry snitch on myself, but I was doing my little street thing, getting that street money. But I was working at a car wash because it made me look innocent. You get what I'm saying? So I'm there working at the car wash for $6 an hour. All the dudes I was working with actually needed that $6 an hour. I was there reading books and just waiting to bust a lick. You see what I'm trying to say? So
that $6 an hour made you look like a hard-working cat.
That's what I'm trying to say. It was the perfect disguise. And I would leave from that job and go wait tables at Applebee's for like $3.50 an hour plus tips. And then every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, I would clean up on them fiends. But my point was, I didn't care what people thought about me. You could think and believe whatever you want. You could think I'm broke is why I'm scrubbing these tires. But I'm actually scrubbing these tires because it keeps the police from looking my way. So it's the same, right? So it's the same thing in the club.
Man over here trying to get, I ain't trying to be in court for you, bro.
No. That's why I'm, that's
You're like, statute of limitations are up.
Yeah, well, not only that, but that's why I'm using all kind of different codes. You can't charge me if I'm not telling you what I was actually doing. But but my point is I've always been like shoulder to shoulder with someone that's doing the same damn position as me, but they're doing it out of desperation.
No, this makes total sense. I mean, like I mean, there's times that I took jobs because I needed to take a job. I can honestly say that I didn't have it like that, where I had it where, like, man, if you're cleaning grease traps at a Safeway, man, and they tell you nobody wants this job, but you can have it, and you're like, well, I need to take this job right now because I need to have a job because I was programmed that I have to have a job anyway as a kid. Yep. And then I then just get a job, and then I can start figuring out after. But I got to get myself in a job first, right? And so I'm doing stuff like that. But the thing is that the way I did jobs, I did it like I was willing to do the hard jobs, but I was also willing to learn everything. And I think that once that I was willing to learn, also something I forgot to mention, I met my two biggest mentors delivering groceries for Safeway. And before they had grocery service now, there was some old cats. There's an old Jewish cat and an old Palestinian Jewish cat which sounds oxymoronic, but actually it's very, especially in the 90s, these gentlemen were in their 80s, so it was very, very doable. And they had got to the point where they didn't want to come into the store, so I would go and take their groceries to them at the end of my shift. So at the end of my shift, we would shop for them, and we'd take the groceries to them, and then I would just have to drop the check back. And they write the check for exactly. I drop the check back. Now this is a long time ago. You can tell because it's like an honor system, right? I could take off or they could take off, but they were customers. They were customers. Safeway had a rating system where they could actually write a personal check for like up to $1,000.
Yeah, I remember that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they were very established customers. They had spent so much money over the years shopping with Safeway. It was like a loyalty program, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I was pretty young at the time, but I was talking to these gentlemen, and one day, and this is what networking and listening and getting a mentor. Now, remember, nobody wanted to deliver these groceries to these guys. These guys were kind of a pain in the ass too, but no one wanted to deliver. I'm like, I'll take the groceries to them. They throw you a $2 or $3 tip, but I felt like these old cats can't really come and get their food. I'm gonna take their food for them. I put their food up. They give me a few dollars. I go on and take it, But one day this guy talks to me, and I was bragging about this. This how old it was. I brought a Versace shirt on credit. Versace shirt on credit. When Biggie was wearing shirt, I swear I was. You
talking about the silk joints?
Yeah, I swear I was like, I wouldn't got one of those bad boys on credit because it was on sale, and I was bragging about, oh man, I got this on sale. I'm gonna go out and kill it at the club tonight. This guy looks at me and he says, "Oh, so what did you get? You get some type of credit card at some place to get it?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh, all right. So what's that about? What's that percentage on a credit card?" And guess what I said? I don't know. Man, that man sat me down and talked to me like he was my dad almost, man. I was like, I am not gonna let this white dude talk to me like that and this and that. But I got my pride out of it. And he was giving me game. He was like, listen, give me your paperwork. He's like, this is 32%. It's criminal what they're charging you. This shirt's gonna cost you this much unless you go pay it off right now. This is your tip. He told me how much the shirt cost, and I wouldn't pay off the shirt.
Yo, that's some rich dad, poor dad shit right there. That's what that was.
And it was dope. And then I remember I always wanted to deliver their groceries. I didn't care if they gave me a tip because I realized that they knew stuff that I didn't know.
Yeah.
And I would sit there
well, knowledge is more valuable than money in hand anyway, because knowledge gets you money, residual. It sounds to me like you were on the verge of beating to delivering groceries. You might have been on to something.
Well, if I was smart, if I knew how to capitalize it, because
add some tech to it.
Right, but I had no idea. I was just walking some groceries across the street, taking them up a couple of flights of stairs, dropping them in there. I was a big kid. They would order a lot once a week. I would make sure they put them up, and then of course they're passed on now because it was you're talking about 30 years ago almost, and so or maybe more than. And
they probably would have invested in it too. If you came up with a business model for delivering, they would have been like, we like this.
If you came with an idea, they definitely would have, but. I mean, there was a lot of old money around that area at that time that I didn't realize. Another person who he became my a mentor who actually taught me how to save money was this old Asian cat. He delivered all the Asian food to Safeway. And I remember I thought he was a worker, but he was actually a solopreneur. It was his business, his warehouse, and he did it because his son didn't want to do it. He was an older guy, and he was just so mad that his son didn't want to learn the business.
That means he was ready to put somebody else on around his son age. So he was like, you see, you know what I'm doing. He work hard. You spoil.
He taught me how to order, and he taught me the concept, which is very, very, very common. That what you do is you cut your paycheck in half, you pay your bills with it, then you cut that in half, you save it, and then that quarter you have left you spend. Okay. He's like, you should always be spending 25% on foolishness and 75% should go to your future. Always. always. And he's like, and if you half of your paycheck won't pay half of your bills when you get it,
You're
then
not
you need to
working
get
hard enough. Yeah,
you need to get roommate or
yep.
more money. Period.
Period.
Period. And so literally when I was trying to do that, that's why I went and I started bouncing, because I had my evenings free, and I started bouncing 3 nights a week on Friday nights, Saturday nights, and Sunday mornings. I started doing that because I used to be at a place where they played a football game, so I go for the late game, the 1 p.m. game, and I started doing that only because I wanted to earn more money, because I wanted to follow that, and I actually started investing in like Series EE bonds at that time, which actually I still have the residuals from it now, because I was investing in United States currency, which is not worth as much. It was a very safe bet at the time. I mean, I didn't know about mini bonds. I didn't know about the S&P 500. I didn't know about that, but I knew that I did not want to keep cash, because keeping cash in my wallet was just a way for me to spend it at the time. So, but all of these lessons I learned that from working at a Safeway, being open to listen to people and being
older people.
Yeah, older people want to tell you stuff.
Oh, do they? Do they?
Like they say, just want respect like gangsters and your grandpa. So, so look, man, that's all I got. That's all I got for this. I don't want to hold you or hold your folks too long.
Yeah, I don't see a lot of questions in the chat, so looks like I'm just gonna go get some more cardio in.
Go on and do your thing, man. Thanks for having me. Hopefully we can make this a thing. Next time we'll have the Wisdom Wednesday on Tip. It'll probably be Wednesday night or something, but we'll have it on Tip Network. And if it's not every week, it could be every other week or something. Okay?
Yeah, I mean, I'm down to come on the Tip Network whenever. You just let me know.
I appreciate it, sir. Thank you. I'm gonna drop myself out to everybody in the chat. Thank you. Follow us on the Tip Network if you have not already, and may the force be with you. Thanks, brother.
Peace. Appreciate you, brother.
All right.
All right, guys. So that was my boy Grover. Like a big brother. So I've always appreciated his insight, his wisdom. So he definitely has a lot of good info to give to guys of all ages. But I think that young men should seek mentors, seek mentorship. I think he just gave you more than enough examples of how it can give you lifelong benefits to have older guys guide you and steer you away from certain mistakes, change and improve your thinking, advance your thinking. I mean, there's so many things where it's like, damn, I wish I had known that 10 years ago or 5 years prior or this many years, this and this. And, sometimes what it is that we can be stubborn and people are telling us things and we're not listening. And then we're like, damn, why didn't I listen to this person? Or you might not be fortunate enough to even have people trying to tell you stuff and put you on game, in which case you need to seek mentors. All right, so I think I'm pretty much going to close out with that. I mean, that's something I've been saying for the longest. I lost my grandpops, and that was like my main mentor. So it's tough to lose a mentor, but it's better to have had and lost than never had. So I've always been interested in what older, more experienced guys have to say, and just guys in general that are, specialized in any particular area. Because as men, how do we use language? We use language to convey information to one another. Women can sit around all damn day long and talk to each other and legit learn very little from that time spent. I'm not, knocking women. I'm just being honest. Women can spend enormous amounts of time with each other and come back no way more informed than when they met up. They'll know about what gossip is going on. They'll know about who's cheating on who. They'll know about who got fired and who this and who that. But they're not going to come home and tell you what stocks are up or something like that. You know what I mean? So I just think there's a lot of young guys that are wasting that fountain of information, which is informed men. So if you're not around informed men, you need to get around them and start learning and getting those advantages and those head starts, those opportunities, those connections. Those people vouching for you, those references that's going to put you on to the next level of your life, and keep it trucking, keep it moving. All right, guys? So whatever status that you're at, your goal should be how you can rise up the ladder. That should be your goal, and there's no reason that you should be doubting yourself, because history is full of men that made it from nothing to something just by playing the game well. All right. So other than that, you know the deal. Consults, email me, hit me up. That's still going strong. Um, Tech support, that's going. The fitness advising, that's going. Dating advice, that's going. Everything is going. So let me know what's good with it. Keep it authentic. We're out of here. And peace.